What that monster was charged with today can make some people just completely lost for words.
He's not a monster. What he did was savage. What he did was monstrous. He's not a monster.
The silence that night felt so calm, so peaceful. You know, the kind that makes you feel safe for a second. But then the phone rang. At exactly 12:59, dispatchers got a call from a panicked mother. Her daughter wasn't answering. Something was off. Officers rushed to a small apartment on Bolivar Street, and there they saw Heidi Noel sitting on the stairs, shaking, pale as a ghost, unable to get a single word out. Inside was her 22-year-old daughter, Lisa Dodd. Lisa was almost 8 months pregnant. Her baby shower invitations had just gone out earlier that week. The whole apartment was filled with pink decorations, and on every little card, the baby's nickname was printed Baby Bean. But instead of a celebration, Heidi walked into something no parent should ever have to see. What the police found inside that apartment shocked even the most experienced detectives. Some of them would later need therapy. The Alton police chief would go on to call it beyond disgusting. He said the crime was committed by a monster. But seriously, how could it ever come to this? This case still haunts me. And honestly, I think it's gonna haunt you too. Before we dive in, guys, just a quick thing: if you're into true crime and want to help keep this channel going, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and maybe share it if you feel like it. It really helps the project grow and lets me bring you even more investigations. And while you're at it, tell me in the comments, which true crime case or criminal has shocked you the most? Who knows, maybe that'll be the next story we cover here. Alright, let's get into it. Before everything that happened, Lisa Dodd was just a young woman trying to build her life. She grew up in the small town of Jerseyville, Illinois, a place where everyone knew her smile. She was kind, gentle, and so caring. When she was a little kid, she once asked that instead of birthday presents, people make donations to the local animal shelter. That's just who Lisa was, soft-hearted, but strong inside. In her early 20s, she finished school and was working in food service. Her dream? To become a nurse, just like her mom, Heidi. She just had this natural gift for caring, like she was always there for everyone, you know? The kind of person who could make you feel seen, even on your worst days. And then came the happiest news of her life. Lisa was pregnant. It was going to be a little girl, due at the end of July. She called her Bean. Every night, Lisa would call her mom, sending photos of her growing belly. Together, they'd talk about nursery ideas and go over baby names. The baby shower invitations had already gone out bright, cheerful, full of hope. Everything seemed ready for this beautiful new chapter in her life. But there was one thing Lisa didn't really like to talk about: her complicated relationship with DeAndre Holly. At first, he seemed charming, polite, funny, attentive, all the right things. But pretty soon, the fights started. They'd flare up, cool off, and then start all over again. It was this constant cycle of calm and chaos. Her friends called their relationship stormy. It's worth noting he wasn't the father of her baby. And honestly, by all accounts, Lisa was really moving on. But her soft heart still wanted to help him. Maybe she thought she could fix what was broken. That, of course, worried her mom, Heidi, a lot. She'd call her daughter every single day, just feeling deep down that something wasn't right. But sadly, no amount of love could stop what was coming. In early 2022, Lisa moved to Alton to start fresh, a new home, a new life, a clean slate for herself and her baby girl on the way. But while Lisa was nesting and preparing for motherhood, DeAndre was unraveling fast. He drifted between towns, Litchfield, Gillespie, and Alton, agitated, unstable, refusing to take his meds. His family said he'd started hearing voices. One of them, a woman who called herself Ruth, supposedly told him to do terrible things. His family begged for help, but they were told that treatment was only possible if he became a danger to himself or others. And that line, "until he's a danger," would haunt them, and everyone involved, for the rest of their lives. While Lisa was carefully folding baby clothes and counting down the weeks till July, DeAndre was sinking deeper and deeper into paranoia. He was stealing, mumbling about people conspiring against him, and pushing away anyone who tried to help. What started as a fragile relationship had turned into a collision between hope and instability, and in just a few days, the worst was about to happen. The drive from Jerseyville to Alton takes about 30 minutes, a familiar stretch of Illinois highway. Wide open sky, endless fields, and way too much space to think. Heidi, Lisa's mom, knew that road by heart. She'd driven it dozens of times since Lisa had moved into her new apartment on Bolivar Street. It was supposed to be a fresh start, quiet, peaceful neighborhood, new life ahead. But that morning, the silence on the other end of the phone didn't sound peaceful at all. It felt like a scream for help. Every unread text, every call that went straight to voicemail, it just squeezed her heart tighter and tighter. And then, deep inside, something whispered, "Go now." Meanwhile, around that little apartment, most of the neighbors said they hadn't noticed anything strange, just the usual hum of a summer afternoon. Someone was doing chores, another taking out the trash, mowing the lawn. But at least one neighbor did hear something screams, and then silence on the night Lisa's messages stopped coming. It was Wednesday, June 8th, and without realizing it, people were walking right past the door where a tragedy was already unfolding. Later, police would piece together what happened that night thanks in large part to surveillance footage from around Lisa's building. A night that began so ordinary, ended in absolute horror. The next day, after those screams, at 12:59 in the afternoon, the police got the call from Heidi. The worried mother had driven to her daughter's place. It had been more than 15 hours since she'd heard from her. Heidi parked outside, climbed the stairs, and knocked on the door. No answer. She knocked again. Still silence. Then, she opened the door, and just minutes later, she saw her daughter, a caring young woman who dreamed of becoming a nurse, who was about to become a mom. And in an instant, it was clear. She was gone. A few neighbors rushed over to the door as Heidi stumbled outside in shock. That's when she made the call. Within minutes, the place was swarming with police. And even they, officers hardened by years on the job, couldn't wrap their heads around what they were seeing. One of them spoke into his radio, his voice shaking. "It's bad. Real bad." When first responders stepped into Lisa's apartment, the air felt heavy, completely still. There were no signs of forced entry. But there was Lisa, brutally murdered. Her mother was outside, sobbing, unable to process what she had just seen. Neighbors tried to comfort her, having no idea what she'd walked in on. Inside, officers carefully searched the small home, looking for any clue who could have done this, and why. And then they made a discovery that turned their investigation into a race against time. They had found Lisa's body. But this time, the word body took on a horrifyingly literal meaning. Her head was missing. It's the kind of scene that doesn't feel real, not in a quiet little town like this, not among people who knew Lisa as the smiling girl from Alton. One detective would later say it was the most horrifying thing he'd ever seen in his entire career. But honestly, what happened next would take this case to a level of horror that, thankfully, very few people will ever experience.
Just really sad that it happened.
April Wooten says Dodd was her next-door neighbor. In the couple months, Dodd had lived on Bolivar Street in Alton. Wooten says she seemed like a kind-hearted person.
I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I could not imagine anybody putting their hands on her in any type of way.
Police began searching the surrounding area, following leads from security footage and a local resident who'd reported finding a serrated kitchen knife in a large red trash bin. Early Thursday morning, 4 minutes after midnight, surveillance cameras caught a man walking out of Lisa's house carrying a laundry basket. He then crossed the parking lot near a tobacco shop, where there was a big industrial dumpster. From the outside, it looked totally normal, just another trash container. But inside was something you can't even begin to imagine. Inside that dumpster, they found Lisa's head. The same man seen leaving her house had placed it there just a few steps away from the home she'd so lovingly turned into a nursery. The same home where, only days earlier, she'd been washing and hanging up tiny baby clothes, getting ready to become a mom.
Just a loving soul, just a beautiful soul, a beautiful smile. She had attended college and was planning on going into the medical field. I had just sent out invitations the prior Saturday for the baby shower. We were just excited and kind of gathering the items you need to have a baby. It's not something I wish on anybody. So, yeah, I'd rather not speak on that.
Oh, that Shelby Dodd could not talk to me in person. However, Dodd shared her love, her admiration for her sister, and her pain during a telephone interview.
She was just an amazing person. She was there for everybody.
Shelby Dodd says her little sis, 22-year-old Lisa Dodd, had a bubbly personality and a heart of gold.
Oh, a huge heart. I mean, whether it was people to animals to anything. She just wanted to spread love everywhere.
She says her sister was excited about starting a new chapter in her life. In March, Lisa moved into a new apartment in Alton, and late next month, she was due to have a baby girl.
Because it was going to be her first. She had a couple names picked out. She had so many clothes already, and just so much stuff for the baby. And she was ready. That's the justice I want for Lisa, is her to be remembered as who she was. In a positive note. I should be able right now to just pick up the phone and call her. I just miss her.
Dot's family plans to hold a funeral and a celebration of life for her next.
Police Chief Marcus Palo addressed the community in a video statement. She was brutally, savagely murdered, he said, his voice trembling as he tried to hold back emotion. She was the victim of a true monster. Her unborn child also lost its life. He wasn't speaking like some official behind a podium. He spoke like a father, deeply shaken by what had happened. He reminded everyone that Lisa's family had just been planning her baby shower. The invitations had literally gone out days earlier. And now, instead of a celebration, they were preparing for a funeral. I'm going to play a short clip from his message, because it wasn't just another routine statement from a police chief. You can feel the humanity in his voice, the grief, the disbelief.
June 9th, at about 12:59 p.m., the Alton Police Department did respond to a residence in the 3400 block of Boulevard Street in reference to a possible homicide. What was observed, what was learned, what was found is absolutely terrible. Every murder is absolutely terrible. We'll never take that away. But what happened to 22-year-old Lisa Dodd, who had just moved to this place in Alton, is beyond irreprehensible. It's abominable. It is completely terrible what happened to her. What that monster was charged with today, about what she went through, can make some people just completely lost for words. That monster, that savage monster, has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of intentional homicide of an unborn, a human body, I'll say that again, a human body, offenses relating to motor vehicles, and concealment of a homicidal death. She was savagely killed by a freaking savage monster. This daughter, this mother-to-be, and her family were in the planning stages of a baby shower that was supposed to be at the end of June. But instead, now the family is planning a funeral because of what a monster did. Irreprehensible. What a savage monster did to her. Her mother had to go through something that nobody should ever have to go through. First of all, no parent should ever have to bury their child. But her mother not heard from her in a little bit and wanted to go check on her to see if she was okay, and found her in a way that you...
By that same evening, the very day Lisa's body was found, detectives already had a suspect. In fact, during her very first 911 call, Heidi had mentioned his name. The suspect was DeAndre Hawley, Lisa's ex, and now her ex forever. He wasn't in Alton at the time, but just 40 miles away, in the small town of Gillespie, something strange was happening. Police there were looking into what seemed like a minor theft. Someone had stolen a bicycle. They spotted a man riding one down Western Avenue and stopped him. He refused to give his name, acted agitated, muttered under his breath, and even started banging his head against the wall once they brought him to the station. Officers booked him as a John Doe, having no idea they had just detained the man wanted for one of the most shocking crimes in Illinois history. That realization came hours later, when his fingerprints were run through the system. The man sitting in that tiny Gillespie police cell, the one caught for a stolen bike, turned out to be DeAndre Hawley. He was the prime suspect. Suddenly, the small-town officers found themselves at the center of a story that was blowing up nationwide. They immediately contacted Alton police, and within hours, Hawley was transferred into their custody. While he sat in a cell, silent, uncooperative, almost detached from reality, investigators in Alton worked through the night. They collected evidence, documented every inch of the crime scene, and prepared to tell Lisa's mother that justice had already begun its course. But, as they'd soon realize, that path would be long and painful. When word of the arrest reached Alton, people felt a wave of relief. But right behind that relief came something else, deep confusion and disbelief. No one could understand why. DeAndre Hawley wasn't some random stranger. He wasn't just a faceless criminal. He was someone Lisa had known for years, someone she had tried to love. But, according to his own parents, DeAndre had started to fall apart long before that terrible night.
Hello, I am Chris Hawk. I am DeAndre Holloway's stepdad. I never thought I would be recording a video like this. First of all, I want to offer my condolences to the Dodd family. I cannot imagine what you must be going through. I'm not going to deny that what happened was an extreme act of evil. It was. I don't know how else to explain it. It was an act of evil. I don't know if there's a word that describes it. And over here we are ashamed. His mom, his sister, we're all shocked. We knew he was capable of violence, but we never saw this. We've been trying to get help for him for at least 3 years. But as far as longer term mental care, we were always told that we can't hold them unless they've done something. And now he's being held because he's done something. Our system fails people with mental problems. I've grown up in an environment with mental problems. And people are kind of left on their own. It's a tragic situation. This is the D that we knew. They're old pictures, but they show that there's a human there. The human does exist. He's not a monster. What he did was savage. What he did was monstrous. He's not a monster.
When Alton police finally sat DeAndre Hawley down for questioning, he straight up refused to answer anything. The only thing he kept saying, over and over, was that he just wanted to go to work. Like, seriously? That must have been one of the weirdest interrogations ever. Prosecutors ended up charging him with first-degree murder, intentional homicide of an unborn child, and concealment of a homicidal death. His bail was set at $2 million. But honestly, that was just the beginning of this long, exhausting legal roller coaster. Over the next 2 years, the case got delayed again and again. Twice, the defense questioned whether Hawley was even mentally competent to stand trial. He went through psychiatric evaluations, and at one point, a judge actually ruled him unfit to stand trial. So, they sent him to a state psychiatric hospital, where doctors tried to stabilize him. Months went by, slow, painful months, and Lisa's family could do nothing but wait. Every new hearing brought another delay, another round of uncertainty, and, honestly, another hit to the heart. Then the legal system itself shifted a bit. In 2023, the Illinois Supreme Court ruled that an unborn child couldn't legally count as a second murder victim for sentencing. For Lisa's family, that decision felt like a slap in the face. a cold legal technicality that, to them, denied the existence of Baby Bean, the nickname they gave Lisa's unborn little girl. Still, prosecutors kept pushing forward, determined to get whatever justice they could. By the end of 2024, doctors finally said Holly was mentally fit for trial, and that's when the plea deal came in. On December 16, 2024, DeAndre Holly pled guilty to all the major charges: first-degree murder, intentional homicide of an unborn child, and concealment of a homicidal death. That guilty plea meant the family wouldn't have to go through a full-blown trial, no cross-examinations, no reliving those horrific details in court. But, it didn't really make the pain go away. During the hearing, prosecutors laid everything out: the timeline, the brutality, the reasons why this case had shaken the entire community. And then came the moment no one can ever truly be ready for sentencing day. On January 17, 2025, inside a quiet Madison County courtroom, Judge Neil Schroeder prepared to read Holly's sentence. The room was dead silent. You could literally hear the faint buzz of the fluorescent lights and the soft rustle of paper in trembling hands. Heidi, Lisa's mom, stood face to face with the man who took her daughter's life. Behind her, a big screen showed a smiling photo of Lisa, her belly beautifully round with life, her hands gently resting on Baby Bean. When Heidi started to speak, her voice sounded calm, but you could feel the storm underneath. "That night," she said, "I got a life sentence. A life without my beautiful, loving, slightly stubborn daughter. Without the joy of watching Lisa raise my granddaughter." Every word she said just cut through the air like shards of glass. Holly sat there completely still, no tears, no emotion, nothing. And the wildest part? Heidi wasn't angry. There was no hate in her voice, just pain and something that sounded a lot like forgiveness. "I don't hate you," she said to him. "I feel sadness and pain for you. Sad that you thought your mental instability gave you a free pass from responsibility. Sad that you destroyed so many hopes and dreams, including your own." The room stayed silent for what felt like forever after she spoke. A few people quietly cried. Even the judge looked deeply moved. Then came the official sentence: 60 years in prison. 30 years for the murder, 20 years for the unborn child, and 10 years for hiding the crime, all to be served one after another. It was a number that sounded so final, even though nothing could ever bring Lisa or her baby back. Heidi looked right into Holly's eyes. "You once told me, I hate being in jail. I hate being locked up." She paused. "Well, now you've got 60 years to hate that feeling." Then she took a deep breath and added softly, "And I'll be praying that you find salvation for your soul."
Collaborated on my daughter's case. A special thank you to Officer Limmersberg of the Alton Police Department for his excellent work on this case. I am forever grateful for your time and wisdom. Thank you to the Madison County State's Attorney's Office and Madison County Coroner's Office for handling this case with care. Thank you to Judge Schroeder for presiding over the case. Thank you, Tiffany Brooks, Victim Service Coordinator, for being with us through this whole journey. A huge thank you to Lauren Markle, if I said that right, and Crystal Yui for the tireless work on bringing resolution to this case with a guilty plea. A special thank you to Crystal for fielding all my questions and always welcoming me to attend the court proceedings. This allowed me a better understanding of the process. This is a tragic outcome of a 2-year on and off again domestic violence relationship. This didn't have to end this way. My daughter should be here raising her toddler instead of being a casualty of domestic violence. If you have a mental instability or mental illness, seek treatment and be consistent with your treatment. Understand that your condition or illness will not keep you from being held accountable for the crimes you commit. If you are in a domestic violence relationship, if someone is emotionally, mentally, or physically abusing you, make a safe plan to leave that relationship. If they continually disrespect your boundaries, make demeaning comments, and control your every movement, this is abuse. Find the resolve to leave that relationship. If someone threatens to end your life, believe them. If they can say it, think it, and talk about it, they can carry out the threat. Reach out to your local, regional, or national resources that are available to assist you in making a safe plan to leave. Your life depends on it. It isn't easy, and it may be one of the hardest things you do, but your life is important, and you are worthy and deserve a life free from abuse.
Sure. I just want to say that you don't often see the kind of strength that the family of Lisa has exhibited in this case. Incredible strength, incredible grace in the courtroom today with her statements to the defendant who viciously took the life of her daughter and granddaughter, and who over years, as she said, had abused them, and is now going to face decades in prison for the crime of murder, or 2 lives, not just one, the mother and the unborn child. And I just want to commend the family to say that it's very inspirational to see the kind of strength that you've shown, and I'm sure that everyone in the courtroom experienced the same thing. I also want to thank Crystal Huey from the Appellate Prosecutor's Office for her help in this case, Lauren Miracle, who is our Chief of the Violent Crimes Unit, and Crystal were lead prosecutors on this case.
After the hearing, State's Attorney Tom Haynes spoke to reporters. This case has been difficult for everyone, he said. It has been traumatic for Lisa's family. With this resolution, they were spared the additional trauma of a trial. Our hope is that this conviction and sentence will be a step toward healing. He added something else too, something that echoed what Heidi had been saying for months. This was a tragic outcome of a 2-year, on and off again, DV relationship. It didn't have to end this way, and Mother Heidi agreed. She used the platform that she has but never wanted, the one born from her grief, to urge others to listen to the signs. If someone threatens to end your life, she said, believe them. Find the resolve to leave. My daughter should be here, raising.
After the hearing, Prosecutor Tom Gibbons spoke with reporters. He said, "This case was incredibly tough on everyone, deeply traumatic for Lisa's family. But thanks to this verdict, they were spared the additional trauma of a full trial. We hope this can be the first small step toward healing." Then he added something that echoed what Heidi had been saying for months. This was the tragic end of a 2-year, unstable relationship marked by violence. It never should have come to this. And Heidi agreed. She's used the platform she never wanted, one born out of heartbreak, to reach others and try to prevent more stories like her daughter's. If someone threatens to kill you, she said, believe them. Find the strength to leave. My daughter should still be here, raising her little girl.
And I just wish she would have known how loved she was. You know, that she wouldn't have ever been alone, that she could have gotten out of this relationship and had a...
The wider community really responded to her words. On GoFundMe, the one created in Lisa's honor, people raised almost $16,000. Part of it went toward funeral expenses, but Heidi donated most of it, about $5,000, to the Oasis Women's Center, which helps survivors of domestic violence. Another $2,000 went to the Riverbend Humane Society, in memory of Lisa's love for animals. People from all over the country left messages along with their donations. Survivors of abuse wrote things like, "I'm just grateful to still be alive. Her story really hit me hard. I wish I could have helped her." And Lisa's light, that same light that shined so brightly while she was alive, it's still touching people, even after she's gone. When the cameras turned off and the courtroom emptied, one question hung in the air. What could have saved her? There's a kind of silence that follows tragedy, not peaceful, but heavy, like the quiet after a storm that's left nothing but wreckage behind. The street where Lisa lived eventually went quiet again. The police tape came down, the house was cleaned, neighbors started to heal, new tenants moved in. But for those who knew her, and for anyone who's ever seen love twist into danger, that street will never be the same. Because the story of Lisa Dodd isn't just about what was lost. It's about what might have been saved. It's about how tiny warning signs ignored, dismissed, or explained away can lead to something unthinkable. Lisa's mom, Heidi, called her every day. She saw the red flags. But you know, I don't think she ever imagined it could go that far. Whoever does. And maybe that's the most painful part, because domestic violence doesn't always look like it does in the movies. Sometimes it looks like endless apologies. Like, I'm fine. Like, please, just give me one more chance, I'll change. Through the lens of control and manipulation, it looks like love. And it keeps looking like love, right up until the very last moment. When the judge finally read out the sentence, 60 years, Prosecutor Tom Gibbons said he didn't believe Holly would ever see the light of day again. And maybe for some, that's justice. But for Heidi and everyone who loved Lisa, justice doesn't look like a prison cell. Justice looks like seeing her daughter holding her newborn baby, hearing Lisa laugh through sleepless nights as she learns how to be a mom, hearing baby Bean's first cry. But instead of a crib, there's a grave. And yet, even in all that darkness, a strange, quiet light has begun to shine through. Since Lisa's death, dozens of women have reached out to her family. They've said her story gave them the courage to finally walk away from their own dangerous relationships. Some went to shelters, some reached out to friends, and some just wrote, "She saved me." That doesn't erase the pain, but maybe, in a way, it gives this tragedy a little more meaning. Heidi once said she wants people to remember her daughter not for how she died, but for how she lived. A girl with a big heart, a bright smile, a young mom-to-be who couldn't wait to meet her little bean. A girl who raised money for animals instead of asking for birthday gifts. A woman who wanted to heal others, even when she herself needed healing. And today, in that small apartment, there's no sound of a baby's laughter. Only the echoes of what could have been and what never will be. Be careful out there, and I'll see you next time.